recently went on a business trip and I came home and the washer and dryer were making a hellacious noise and it was time to be replaced. And to kind of balance out the yin and the yang of like the negative of having to buy new stuff, there's the positive of let's take the old stuff apart and see how it works. The natural curiosity of a young boy has not escaped me yet, so I figured, let's take this thing apart and see how they work. As a side note, kind of goes together, I've watched a couple of videos here on YouTube, and those videos had the pretty much sole intent of like scrapping them for money. And I don't really watch the videos, I just kind of fast forward to the end where it says they got like $6 a piece for the washer and dryer, and I said to myself, it's not even worth driving over to the scrapyard for $6 a piece. So I'm not really taking them apart for money. That's not my sole intent. If you're looking for this, if you're watching this and you're watching for, how much money is he getting out of it? None. Not everything has to be about money. How many people ask like, oh, you have chickens? Do you sell your eggs? Oh, you have a garden? Do you sell your... No. What am I, JP Morgan? I have to monetize everything in my life. Can I just do things for the love of the game? But I digress. There is a little bit of a side benefit, but this, again, doesn't have anything to do with money. And because who doesn't love a good big stack D video, I have gone ahead and started melting my own bars. Let me go back a step. I have no need or want to take these over to the scrapyard. This thing is probably worth 50 cents to $1. This is probably worth $5. Again, no matter how much I collect, it's not really worth it, especially for the time that you put in, the gas that you burn. It's just a fun thing. The boy and I plan on building maybe a little treasure chest and maybe burying them out in the yard with a treasure map. And oh, look, we got some treasure, some silver and some goldish color stuff. Not everything has to be about money. It's easier to get views when it's like, ooh, how much am I going to get? This channel's never been about getting views. Enough talking. Let's take something apart. This is my old dryer. I don't think a full autopsy has to be done on it because it actually was removed from service while it worked. That being said, I have repaired it more times than I can count, and I believe that the board in the top only has probably one more repair on it before you're in for the $300 or $400 board. I've soldered pieces on, you know what, maybe I'll dig it out, I'll show you. But I've soldered these pieces back on that the thing would just blow up on the power supply. And with traveling, having to travel back and forth for work now, of course it's gonna go on, like the first day that I'm away on business. So I figure, let's get rid of it. So underneath here is the aforementioned control board. Right about here, the big blown out spot. That's not me, that's the board itself blowing up. And I've repaired it. I've taken this off, taken this part off and resoldered it. It's actually similarly, it's the same part that went bad on my welder. So I bought a bunch of them, and it's literally the same exact part. It's just a coincidence. I didn't know that. I mean, no, I did. I do. It was gonna save me one day. No, that's not true. It just happened to be a coincidence. But this is the thing that goes bad. I think these are like $300 or $400 these days. So I mean, at what point do you stop throwing $300 or $400 into a 15-year-old machine? So that's my thought process here. You can see the explodey bits on the inside here where it blew up. Goodbye. I'm just gonna keep unscrewing things and see what falls apart. Well, this piece comes off as one. I'll probably fish through this for some reason. That just ripped off. Awesome. This is garbage. I can't even reuse any of this stuff. Oh, wouldn't be a video without that roostering. Alright, the doors are off, so it's safe for children or something. Isn't that what they say? Wouldn't be a Woodridge Creek video without that roostering in the background. What is this? Zinc-coated steel? What is this? Is it aluminum? I don't know. We'll hang on to it. Cool. Not a whole lot going on there. So now this is the part that I'm familiar with, because I've also done sensors in here. I've done a couple of heat things. What are they called? The resistive heating elements. I've done that once or twice in the last couple of years. Is that bad? Aha, sweet. I think we've gone like past where most normal homeowners would go. All right. How gross this is. This is German Shepherd hair. We didn't have German Shepherds. That's from the old owner. Just disgusting. These are disgusting. I should have replaced this 2 years ago. Oh. What? This whole thing? There's got to be a belt somewhere. There's got to be a belt. Oh yeah, right in the middle there. You know what? This isn't going to the Smithsonian, so let's... That's like a nice round thing. Would you look at this mess? I am what you would consider not the average homeowner. I'm a bit of a maintenance nerd. I have been inside this machine. I've vacuumed it out as much as I could see without doing major disassembly. And I don't know how you would not consider this a fire hazard. That's all hair from previous homeowners. Man, I should have replaced this a couple of years ago. This is disgusting. Look at this. It's pretty gross, I'm not gonna lie. This is the heating element, which I've replaced before. But, not really worth much now. See ya. 2 screws. If nothing else, it smells nice in here. Dryer sheet. Cool. That's pretty much it. We hardly knew you, our drying machine. Try to yeet this thing out of here. Took half a second to think about it, but it turns out that this fan, 1/2-inch drive, came right off. So we have the motor. I'm probably gonna keep these motors. I don't think I'm gonna melt them down because honestly there's really not that much. I can't imagine there's more than 4 pounds of copper in here. But maybe turn it into a generator or something sometime in the future. Who knows? Yeah, it's got all the pulleys on it. It spins nice. I never had an issue with it. So it's always good to have a nice piece of engineering laying on the shelf. Who knows? Let's get this cleaned up. Move on. So really overall with the dryer, it's mostly steel. This is all of our scrap, plus the motor. Not a whole lot of plastic. Oh, I forgot the drum. I am not turning that into a flower pot or a garden bed or a raised garden bed or a fire pit. I'm not of that socioeconomic status. It'll go to the recycling yard, get turned into razor blades or something. Maybe a new washer or dryer, who knows? But overall, it's kind of impressive, like with today's society, everything being plastic, that was not. It really wasn't a lot of plastic at all. It's probably gonna be different with the washer, but a lot of metal. So that's like good for the environment. As much as we recycle here, that's pretty cool that this thing is just gonna get back into the ecosystem of consumerism. And then some's gonna end up in the shiny bits bucket. Hey, sacrifices must be made. Now this thing is stupidly heavy. I'm sure I could look up a spec sheet or something on it, but I'd say it's gotta be somewhere close to 200 pounds. So I doubt there's 200 pounds of sheet metal in here. I don't know if it's full of water, there's lead on the bottom, I don't know. This thing is heavy, but let's get into it. Right away, we'll go for the low-hanging fruit. Throw this on the pile. This is a nice wire. Cool, we're in the green. Now, seem to have been thwarted by these lack of a better term, security screws. They're not 1/4, they're not 5/16. Okay. Got him. What are these? T15s. Beautiful, we got those. Let's get another bucket, put the screws in. It's not so much keeping the screws per se, it's more keeping track of them because this is Mama's parking spot. And you know, if she runs one over, who's responsible for getting the tires fixed? So, might as well keep track of them in one central location to prevent the inevitable. Because if you drop one, you might not be able to find it, but your tire will. The washer was the main concern. Now, even though the dryer broke a bunch, we saw when you take it apart, it is kind of simple to fix. Simple things. Manual switches, nothing too crazy. What went wrong with this one, what I can only assume is there a main bearing that the drum spins on. If there's anything left, I doubt there's anything left. And it would make such a racket while running. It would still physically work. It was just super loud. And you got kids and bedtimes and, oh, you can't do laundry. It's after bedtime, you know, stuff like that. It gets annoying. So, time to go. Yeet! Okay, there's a big block of concrete in here. Well, there's two. One, let's see if you guys can see it. There's a block of concrete right here, and there's a block of concrete right here. No wonder why the dang thing was so heavy. And these springs, that looks like there's probably not going to be something I want to mess with. Think about a way of undoing them. You see that one there? Very hard for you to see. Yeah, without hurting myself. Trying hard not to hurt myself. It's ultimately the goal of these stupid projects. Your wife's like, oh, I'm fixing to wash. She says, oh, you hurt yourself. What were you doing? Something important? Yeah, I was taking apart the washing machine because I was bored. Not a viable excuse. Huh. I'd say that's it. If I had to take a guess, all that brown water spraying around there, I'd say there's probably a seal in here, and it went bad and let the main bearing rot out. You could see it all over. Huh. Well, that's it. Video over. That's why I failed. Now, let's keep taking it apart. Oh, yeah. You can hear that. That's what would keep the kids up at night. Huh. To its credit, none of this crap broke. Credit where it's due. I never had an issue. Huh. I'd say that's why it was so heavy. Remember that scene in RoboCop 2 where they're just taking him apart unceremoniously so they could dump his corpse on the side of the road? That's kind of like what this feels like. It's a beloved thing. The washing machine was good, wasn't great. I'm just hacking away at its lifeless body. For fun. Grab the old Milwaukee, that'll... Oh, yeah. No problem there. The old Milwaukee. It's a Algonquin word for take apart washing machine. I don't know if I have anything that big. All right, had to dig around, find the right socket. Yeah, I wasn't doing that by hand. Oh, there's a little bit of Loctite on there. That's what did it. Huh. Yeah, that'll do it. There's my $1,800 part. That's what the new set cost me. This bearing finally let go. This is supposed to be on here. Oh, this way. All the balls that are up here. Well, one's there. It looks like some other ones are missing. Goodbye, we hardly knew ye. Fantastic. All right, well, that's the autopsy on that. That's why I failed. I'm going to keep taking it apart because what the hey, but what is this? Aluminum, zinc? I hang on to that. That might end up in the old furnace. Pretty gross. You know, your bearing goes out, water's all sloshing around. Although, this is probably supposed to be funky. I've run the clean cycle on this thing in the last couple of years. I don't know how many times, but this is what it looks like when you have a dirty old washing machine. 15 years of use. It's pretty gross. It smells really good, though. Odd as that sounds. It smells like industrial cleaner mixed with sewage. I used to go to a junior high school across the street from a sewage plant back in New York. And smell is the closest sense to memory. And for whatever reason, this smell is reminding of Mr. Kerman's 6th grade science class. Shout out to Mr. Kerman, wherever he is now. Mr. Kerman. That's a name I haven't thought of in fucking 30 years. But yet, here we are. How do we get the motor off? I had enough. I'm getting bored with this. I bet you this whole casting would have had to come out. This is probably heated and then sunk into the plastic because it's got to hold on for the life of the machine. So you probably got to melt this all out and then remelt it. That ain't a road that I'm going down. That dog don't hunt. Sweet. All right, cool. Let's clean this up before Mama gets home. Pretty much wrapped up now. I'd have to say overall that was a complete and utter colossal waste of time. But I mean, what do they say? Nothing's a waste of time if you're doing it with friends, especially your e-friends. I might have just made that up, but thanks for coming along on the ride. As far as scrapping goes, should have followed what everyone else said, but we got a six foot bed full of steel, worth all of probably $4. As far as melting goes, there's really not a lot. The motor would maybe make it worth it. Well, maybe we'll make some coins out of the motor. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I mean, it's a fully functional motor, so my first inclination is to reuse it or recycle it somewhere, or reuse it as opposed to recycling it. The bottom of the barrel is melting it and making treasure out of it. Yeah, I mean, those videos out there are true. It's really not worth anything to take it apart, washer and dryer. I mean, in my experience, almost, there's just as much good metal in the average home PC. Between the heat sinks and the wiring and the ducting made out of copper and aluminum, there's more in that. I'm not going after any silver contacts or anything in the board. Most of the stuff is board. There's not a lot of real switches in there. A couple of these solenoids I'll break open and get the copper out of. But again, this is not the point of this. Really wasn't to get any money out of it. It was kind of to perform an autopsy, and what I thought was actually the case with the main bearing failing on the washer machine. So I'm left with, I don't know, 80 pounds of concrete or whatever here, and a couple things to melt. Whatever. We filmed it. Got to spend some time with you guys. I think that's it. Goodbye.